Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Just got done doing some Bridgeford promotional work the day before the last MLF Pro Circuit event starts on the St. Lawrence River. We've got big body of water that we're dealing with this week. I'm hoping that some of the fish that I have found decide to come and play with us, and we can have a good solid finish, move ourselves up into the championship cutoff, and go fish the Mississippi River for the championship in 2 weeks. But guys, what I wanted to talk about today was big water boat preparation. I think it is something that oftentimes goes very underlooked. It's something where, from an important standpoint, it can make or break your tournament or just your trip fishing on the water. So if you're heading out onto the big bodies of water, specifically the Great Lakes, like the St. Lawrence River here, you got to make sure that everything is in tip-top shape. So I wanted to walk you through the boat, show you a couple of things that I think you need to do before you head out, and show you a couple things that I think you should also bring with you just in case you run into trouble. So the first thing I want to talk about is some preparation for the boat. You know, there's a couple of key things, and I'll take you to the back. Really, the most important thing that you can do is tighten down the motor mount to your jack plate. Oftentimes people don't realize that if you get a little bit of play between the jack plate and the mount, that can lead to major issues. If you hit big waves, you could strip that screw out, you can bend it, at which point you can really, you could crack that bolt, and then your motor literally can fall off your boat. I have seen this happen. You know, I'm not saying it had to do with the fact that there was play in the screw still, but if you have that play and you have not tightened it down properly, the likelihood is that you could cause serious damage or even lose your motor. So that's like the number one thing I always do when I head out. If you are running motor in your engines, I don't need to do it with my 4-stroke engine, but I highly recommend putting oil in just in case you do end up making a long run or get, you know, stuck out on the water, or your ride back to the marina or wherever you launch from takes a lot longer. You just want to make sure you have the proper amount of oil in the boat. I then will head through the rest of my boat and literally tighten down all of my screws. So like I was just going through it and I found that this plate right here that holds in my port navigation light and my GoPro YOLO stick was loose to the touch. I mean, that's something that you wouldn't normally check, but I literally go through the entire boat checking all the screws. You know, the side plate that's on the inside of the boat here is one that can come loose. If that happens, your shifter and everything will fall in your lap. You want to make sure this side plate is always tight, and I think most boats have some various similar assembly. You want to make sure all the mounts to your boat are tight. All of the mount, the actual screw and gimbal, the screws to mount the graph to your gimbal mount are tight. The last thing you want to be doing is running down the lake and have your electronics come out. And a lot, you know, you don't realize how heavy 2 mounts are, let alone 1 mount. You know, you need to make sure that that's tight, because the pressure from big waves and the pounding that you put it through could land you in some trouble, because this whole assembly will come out. You want to make sure your trolling motor pedals are tight. Your trolling motor itself, you want to go through all your nuts and make sure that the mount is safe and snug, so that you have no play. You know, I've gone a little bit of an extra step here because I fish a lot of big water. I've mounted in a metal plate here so that my brace will hit the metal plate, and you can see here's a screw that I still need to tighten down right here because the plate's coming out. I've also mounted in this I don't know, I actually know what it's like, a door pull. I've mounted this into the front deck, and I've taken a bungee cord and I'll strap that around the head of my trolling motor so that when I'm making a big run, this doesn't have play to bounce up and down. You know, no matter what trolling motor brand you're running, you should have some sort of device here to hold that in place. It's really important that you do that. So guys, go through your boat, make sure everything is tight. I've seen these little latches that your rod straps fit into. I've seen guys come out with that, you know, that rips out on a big wave because there was play there. Well, that doesn't just rip out, you end up losing your rods as well. So there's little things like that. You want to pay attention attention to detail. So that's what you want to do with your boat. You want to go through it, make sure it's ready for big water. Once you've done that, there are items that you need to make sure you bring with. One, and I don't have mine out, but if you're running the Great Lakes, guys, you need to check Coast Guard safety information, because most likely, depending where you're at, and there's state regulations that come in play as well, you need to make sure you've got the correct safety items. You know, your flags, your flares, just your signaling devices, the whistles, that type of stuff. You need to make sure that you are in compliance well out on the Great Lakes. So check that up. I've got a whole kit with everything that's in the back compartment over there. This is a Yugo phone case. I always put my phone in a protective case in case I take a wave over the bow. This will be safe. I have my wallet. I carry an EpiPen in here as well. Just the valuables that I need to keep safe in case I fill the boat with water go in here. I always carry, this is a tow rope. This is like a vehicle tow rope that you use in the winter for like pulling trucks out of the ditches. I carry it in my boat just in case I end up having to tow somebody back, or I need a tow and I find I can wave somebody down and they don't have a rope. I can pull this out and we'll get back to safety. So that's something important. You know, I carry a big thing of rope as well. I've got a jumper battery kits. You know, I've talked about how important it is to have battle-borne batteries so that I have power. You know, I always make sure I have this. And most of the time it's not for me, guys. It's because I find somebody else who's floating on the water and they have dead batteries. Well, I can hand that to them. They can jump their boat, get started, get back to the dock. So there's a lot of little things. You know, I always try to make sure I've got tools. So I've got smaller kits. You know, I travel with this 300 and some odd piece socket kit to make sure I can tighten everything in the boat. I've got, you know, like this handy little screwdriver I carry with me everywhere. It's got all the different bits that I need. I can't tell you how often this comes in handy on the water, so I keep this in my boat at all times. It really comes down to being as prepared as possible, because if something goes wrong while you're on the Great Lakes or you're on a big body of water and the weather kicks up, guys, you got to be able to get back, because if you don't, your boat could end up on the rocks and be a complete loss, not to mention all the gear and everything else you have. And then you got to deal with insurance and whatever it is. It's not something you want to go down, especially when you could have prevented it from happening in the first place. So I hope this was helpful, guys. If you think of anything that I missed, and I'm sure I did because I always do, put it in the comment section so that the other viewers can read that and go, oh yeah, I do need to do that. So it's really important, guys, because this is something between, you know, potentially life and death. I mean, it really is. If you're out on the Great Lakes and it's 40-some degree water temperature and something happens or you swamp your boat, you're definitely up a bad creek. You know, some guys carry extra bilge pumps just for that reason, so that's something else that you can think about. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If it was helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. We got new tips and tricks that come out every day.